On the day I finally reunited with the richest Wang family, there wasn't a trace of joy in me. Instead, I turned away from them and ran straight toward the traffic at the crossroads, like escape was the only thing I could control. The whole family panicked, voices trembling, hand grabbing, begging me to come back. And all of it started because the adopted son, Makoto, leaned in and whispered the kind of words that bury themselves in your bones. One son in this family is enough. You're just the extra hillbilly. For a long time, I believed him. So that very night, I turned on the gas, left behind a suicide note, and wrote a single twisted apology. I'm the one who caused trouble. If I disappear, maybe everyone can finally be at peace. The look on their faces when they found me was as if they'd seen a ghost crawling back from the afterlife. And yet, nothing changed. At a banquet soon after, Makoto and his circle of spoiled friends shoved me into the pool. But this time I didn't fight it. I let myself sink, slow and silent, while the world above blurred like a fading dream. Makoto, terrified, jumped in after me, shouting, "You idiot! If you really drown, Mom and Dad will hate me. At least pretend to struggle." He never understood. I had struggled before, fought, begged, tried to live, but every attempt ended in tragedy. And every single time, my parents and sister took his side. This was my 10th rebirth. And in this life, I had made a quiet decision. I wouldn't resist anymore. If death was the only thing I could choose for myself, then I'd choose it completely. And if I couldn't find peace, maybe no one else would either. The chlorine burned my throat like fire when they dragged me out of the water. I lay on the pool's edge, coughing, vision spinning. Alicia, my sister, wrapped me in her cashmere coat, but even wrapped in warmth, my body kept shaking. Makoto's face drained of color. His friends stuttered excuses. We were just messing around. How were we supposed to know he'd actually sink? As if their panic made them innocent. I smiled through chattering teeth, looked straight at Makoto, and said softly, "Brother, you told me to go down, so I went. I always listen to you." He stepped back like he'd seen something inhuman rise from the dark. "What are you talking about? I never said that." He cried, nearly in tears, as he clung to our parents, desperate to defend himself. Our parents' faces darkened. A boy in designer streetwear mustered the courage to speak. He jumped in himself. We tried to save him. He wouldn't come up. I peeked out from behind Alicia, my voice small, innocent. I didn't refuse. It's just, I have to do whatever brother tells me. Otherwise, he won't be happy. And if he's not happy, none of you are. Then I looked around, genuinely confused. So, what should I do to make everyone happy? Silence swallowed the entire room. Alicia's grip tightened around my arm, fingernails digging deep, trying to hold together a truth that was cracking open. Dad barked orders to the butler, told him to take me to my room, call the doctor. Then he turned to Makoto, voice cold in a way I'd never heard. "You're coming with me." Makoto, the golden child no one ever scolded, panicked. "Dad, it wasn't me, please." Their faces twisted with frustration, fear, disappointment. But all I felt was exhaustion. What more did they want from me? Makoto's puppy went missing, and somehow I was the one turned into a replacement pet, collared, fed dog food, locked in a doghouse. He wanted to camp with friends. So he zipped me into a sleeping bag and kicked me down a slope, letting my body crash against rocks until pain turned numb. And when he saw me, twisted on the ground, he only sighed and said, "Wow, this sleeping bag is terrible quality. Good thing my little brother tested it." Whenever I resisted, he twisted the story, and my family sided with him every time. But this time, I didn't resist at all. And still, they weren't happy. When the doctor finished, Mom came in with a cup of warm milk. She sat beside me, her face carrying more emotions than she knew how to hold. "George," she said softly, "tell me the truth. Do you hate this family?" I shook my head. "I don't." "Then why?" she whispered. "Why do you keep hurting yourself?" I held the cup carefully, took a small sip, and answered with the only truth I had left. "I just want everyone to be happy." Her eyes reddened instantly. "You're my real son. You don't have to please anyone." But I looked up at her and asked a question that had haunted me through every life. Then why wasn't brother happy when I came home? Why wasn't sister? Did you make a mistake finding me? Her breath caught, and she pulled me into her arms. No, George, you're not a mistake. Her embrace was warm, almost convincing, but I remembered another life. Makoto cutting his hand, collapsing into her arms, crying. The cold look she gave me afterward. The dark storage room she locked me in. The hiss of gas filling the air as Makoto twisted the valve open, and her voice telling me to stay there until I learned not to hurt my brother again. Back then, I truly didn't understand what I had done wrong. All I ever wanted was simple, to live and to be liked. But now all I wanted was to disappear. And that was the moment Mom suddenly held me, as though I were the most precious thing in her world. The next morning, the house gathered in heavy silence. Makoto had cried himself swollen, eyes puffy, voice trembling as he tried to explain. I didn't push him. I was just scared, he said. Scared that once he came back, you wouldn't need me anymore. Alicia rushed to defend him immediately, her sympathy always saved for him, never for me. Mom, Makoto didn't mean it. He just has no sense of security, she said, glaring at me like I was a problem brought back by mistake. George has only been home a few days, and everything is already in chaos. Something is wrong with him. Dad exhaled a long, tired breath and rubbed his temples. We can't keep going like this. Get a psychologist for George. He needs proper counseling. And so, on the day of the appointment, I sat down on the soft couch and answered every question with perfect cooperation. The doctor leaned forward, voice gentle. Why do you keep wanting to die? I smiled, because dying is the easiest way to make every problem disappear. He pushed up his glasses, trying to steer me somewhere hopeful. But if you die, the people who love you will be heartbroken. Love me? I blinked at him, almost amused. Do you mean the caretakers of the orphanage who let the other kids beat me? Or the trafficker who called me his good boy, while locking me in a dog cage? Or maybe my sister, who warned me not to upset her beloved little brother, yet only saved me when I was seconds from drowning? I leaned in, lowering my voice. Doctor, they don't love me. They're just afraid I'll die in their house and bring them trouble. They think I'm broken. Something to fix. I tilted my head, genuinely curious. But I'm not sick. I simply do what they tell me. If they want me alive, I live. If they want me gone, I shrugged. I go. Is that not allowed either? The doctor froze, pen hanging midair, face draining of color. He repeated every word of mine to my parents, without softening a single sentence. His final diagnosis was simple and terrifying. I wasn't mentally ill. I was surviving in the only way I knew how, through the most extreme form of self-protection and retaliation. My mind was like a string pulled to its breaking point, one more tug away from snapping. To him, my desire to die wasn't madness, it was a shield. Mom locked herself in her room the whole day. Dad smoked until the air turned thick. Only Alicia held her ground, refusing to believe any of it. George is faking it, she insisted. He's manipulating everyone. He wants to push Makoto out. Makoto hid behind her shoulder, pretending to tremble, though the triumph in his eyes was impossible to miss. Don't worry, Mom and Dad, he said sweetly. I'll get along with my brother. I'll help him recover. He thought as long as Alicia believed him, he'd always win. The house grew heavier with each passing hour. Finally, my parents decided the solution was to send me to the elite academy where both Makoto and Alicia studied. They believed being around normal kids would fix me. Makoto reacted instantly, his face twisting in panic. I don't want to go to school with him. My classmates will laugh at me. For the first time, Dad snapped, "This is not up for discussion." Makoto stormed away, but I knew he wouldn't let this slide. And I was right. On my very first day, I became the school headline. The whispers spread like wildfire. The Wang family brought home their real son, and he's a lunatic fresh out of a psychiatric hospital. Makoto was surrounded by friends offering fake sympathy, their eyes flicking toward me with fear. "Makoto, your brother looks creepy, gloomy. I heard he tried to gas the whole house. You better be careful. He might hurt you." Makoto lowered his eyes, perfecting the role of the fragile, loyal brother. Don't say that. He's sick. He would never hurt me on purpose. We're family. The more he defended me, the more monstrous people believed I was. Soon, I became invisible. No one spoke to me. Someone drew chalk boundaries around my desk. Ink splattered across my books. But compared to the orphanage, this felt almost peaceful. During PE, the class was allowed to roam freely. The sports rep sent me to the equipment room for basketballs. The moment I stepped inside, click, darkness swallowed me whole. Outside, Makoto and his friends burst into laughter. A psycho should stay locked up. Do you think he'll bite himself in there? Ha, Makoto! Check through the crack. No way, you do it. There were 40 minutes left in class. All I had to do was sit and wait. The cramped darkness calmed me, like an old friend. I even felt myself drifting toward sleep. Then an impatient voice called from outside. Hey, psycho, dead yet? If you're not dead, make a sound. I stayed quiet. Moments later, the same voice returned, this time tinged with unease. Why isn't he moving? Did something actually happen? Makoto's voice answered, firm and unbothered. What are you afraid of? Even if something did happen, I'll still be filial to our parents. Let him figure it out. Let's go. Their footsteps faded. I closed my eyes, ready to nap. Then the air shifted. Thick, sharp, burning. Smoke. The fire spread fast. Too fast. Within minutes. The equipment room became a furnace, the smoke swallowing every breath I tried to take. I didn't scream. I didn't pound on the door. I simply wrapped my arms around a basketball and curled up in the farthest corner, letting the heat and smoke blur the edges of my consciousness. For the first time, it felt peaceful. No rooftops, no gas valves, no hands yanking me back from the brink. Just quiet. One last cycle to endure, and then maybe, finally, I could slip free of the scarred, aching body. But right as my vision dimmed, a violent crash shattered the world. The door burst open, kicked with such force it tore off its hinges, and a figure charged through the flames. Arms grabbed me, burning, shaking, and pulled me upright. It was Alicia. Her face was streaked with smoke, her hair singed at the ends, panic trembling in every breath. George! Wake up! She yelled, holding me as if she could drag me back to life by sheer will. She carried me through the fire, stumbling across the school lawn where a crowd had already gathered. Makoto and his friends stood among them, staring wide-eyed, shock, guilt, and buried deep the tiniest glimmer of disappointment. I collapsed onto the cool grass, gasping at the taste of clean air. Alicia dropped to her knees in front of me, her voice frantic, more frantic than I had ever heard it. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I looked at her, coughing, clutching the sting of a fresh burn. Sister, you saved me again. My voice shook, not with gratitude, but with regret. You shouldn't have. I was so close to dying. Her face drained of all color. She grabbed my shoulders, shaking. Why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you break the door? Do you actually want to die, George? What are you trying to do? I didn't answer her. Instead, I raised my eyes toward Makoto. He jumped as though I'd pointed a knife at him. It wasn't me. I didn't set the fire. I don't know what happened. His friends chimed in desperately. We left ages ago. It wasn't us. George went himself. We only showed him where the room was. Before anyone could say another word, the security captain rushed over, breathless. We checked. It was an electrical short, old wiring. Nothing more than an accident. The tension dissolved instantly. Makoto exhaled, relief washing over him like a tide, and his expression softened into that familiar, saintly mask. George, I'm so glad you're okay, he said gently. It's our fault. We shouldn't have joked around or made you go alone. He stepped forward to help me up. I flinched away. It was small, barely noticeable, but it was the instinctive recoil of someone who had been hurt too many times. And in that moment, in front of everyone, I broke. Tears burst out of me like a dam collapsing. Brother, I'm sorry. My voice cracked, raw and trembling. I should have stayed inside, but I don't like dark little rooms. Next time, could you give me another way to die? Please? The crowd erupted in whispers. For the first time, they saw it, really saw it. The careful hierarchy, the power imbalance, the real young master bowing his head to the adopted son like a terrified servant. Wait, is this what it looks like? The adopted one bullying the biological son? Oh my God, that's why George obeys him like that. Makoto's face twisted in panic as he tried to explain, but no one was listening. That night, when Mom and Dad rushed home, they walked into a scene thick with tension. Alicia silent, Makoto trembling, and me standing still as stone. What happened? Mom cried. How did a fire even start? Alicia looked at Makoto, then at me. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. Makoto moved first, straight into Mom's arms, crying hysterically. Mom, George has gone crazy. He wants to kill me. He even said so. Her hand stroked his back soothingly, but her eyes, cold, sharp, landed on me. I ignored their performance and walked to Dad. The fire was an accident, I said, but locking me inside wasn't. Dad stiffened. You always asked what I went through before you found me. I continued. Well, it was like that room. Dark, cramped. I was locked in space just like that for 3 years. Their breath caught. The food was spoiled. Every day, I had to go out and steal. If I didn't bring enough, I was beaten. If I cried, they shoved razor blades into my mouth. Silence swallowed the room whole. Dad's face went ghost pale. Mom raised a trembling hand to her lips. Even Alicia seemed carved out of stone. The man who trained us loved his favorite game, I said. He'd lock one of us in the black room, and the others had to guess how many days he'd survive. I turned to Makoto, my voice steady. So when you play your little games, they're not fun for me. My smile curved, bright, unsettling, because when I'm unhappy, I want everyone to feel it with me. Makoto's composure shattered. Dad's voice cut through the air, sharp, furious. Enough. He pointed at Makoto, eyes filled with disappointment even I had never seen from him. Go to your room. Reflect. You are not to leave unless I say so. Makoto stared at him, stunned, waiting for Mom or Alicia to step in. Mom turned her head away. Alicia stayed frozen, silent. For the first time, no one defended him. And so the night ended with Makoto locked in his room. Only after the fire, and after Makoto's confinement, did Mom finally begin to uncover the truth about my past. Mom didn't waste a single second. She pulled every string she had, starting from the tiny county where I'd first vanished all those years ago. And within days, a thick folder landed on her desk, my entire life, from age 3 to 16, laid out in black and white. Every report, every injury, every nightmare, even the case files from the trafficking ring that stole me. One name kept appearing again and again. 7. They wrote that 7 was the smallest kid in the group, the quietest, but the only one who, after being rescued, could draw the trafficker's leader's face from memory. The only one who could sketch the full layout of the hideout. Every hallway, every escape route, every locked door. That information helped the police take down a group that had slipped through the cracks for years. And that kid, 7, was me. Mom read it all. Every page. She didn't move from her study the whole night. When morning came, she didn't cry, didn't break down, she acted. First, she fired every servant and replaced them with trained security personnel. Then she marched straight to my school and personally requested a long leave for me. She said, "Until my son truly heals, I will not let him face even a hint of danger again." Dad had nothing to argue. Alicia stayed silent. Makoto stayed locked in his room. For the first time, this house built walls of steel, just for me, and yet, inside me there was nothing. No warmth, no relief, only the understanding that everything she was doing now came from guilt. Guilt that arrived 13 years too late. She wanted forgiveness. But compared to the nights I spent begging to survive, compared to being shoved aside again and again by the people I tried to call family, her efforts felt like dust. Alicia stopped mocking me. Instead, she began hovering, quietly leaving fruit in my room, covering me with blankets when I fell asleep reading. It was clumsy, hesitant, like she was afraid of breathing wrong around me. One quiet afternoon, while I was painting the garden, she sat beside me. Her eyes lingered on my canvas. Dark red strokes twisted across the page. She stayed quiet for a long time before whispering, "George, I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I just kept painting. "I didn't know you." I set down my brush and looked at her. "You know what? You didn't know I was kept in a dog cage? Or that someone burned me with cigarette butts?" I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the faint scars lining my arm. These had already faded, but Makoto reopened them with glass. Now they're fresh again. Alicia's face drained of color. Her hand shook as she reached out, then stopped midair, as if she didn't deserve to touch the scars. I pulled my arm away and picked up my brush again. "Sister, I've heard your apology, but I don't accept it. Because if an apology were enough, why would we need the police?" Her breath hitched. I turned toward her. If a murderer apologizes, do the dead come back? She froze, absolutely still, like the truth had struck her hard enough to stop time. Makoto stayed confined for half a month. At first he cried, refused food, begged. But when no one came to comfort him, he eventually quieted down, thinking maybe obedience would win back their affection. He miscalculated. Mom wasn't bending this time. And then one night, he snapped. Using a shard of porcelain he'd hidden, he cut his wrist. Not deep, but enough to send the house into chaos again. In the hospital bed, he sobbed, breath trembling. "Mom, I was wrong. Please don't abandon me. I'll listen, just don't send me away." But Mom's eyes were colder than I had ever seen. "Makoto, you remember the day we brought you home?" He froze. "You were so small, so scared. You promised us you'd be good, and we believed you. We gave you everything, love, comfort, even the guilt that should have belonged to George. But you," she shook her hand free of his grip, "you learned to lie, to manipulate, to bully your own brother. You used our love like a weapon." Her voice cracked, but there was no softness left. "Makoto, you've disappointed me too deeply." She walked out without looking back. Makoto panicked, clawing at the sheets. "Please, Alicia, help me, please." She held him down gently, but her voice was firm. "You hurt him using the wounds he barely survived. You knew exactly what he went through, and you still push him back into that hell." Makoto shook his head. "I didn't, You were afraid he'd take everything from you," she said quietly. "So you tried to destroy him first." He had no answer, because he knew she was right. If our places had been reversed, I would have stepped aside. I would have given everything back to him. I would have never done what he did. His little act didn't win him any pity. It killed the last bit of trust they had left. And the day he was discharged, Mom and Dad told him calmly, "We've contacted your biological parents." His eyes widened in terror. No, please. Don't send me back. They'll kill me." Dad's voice was ice. "That is your family matter. From today forward, you no longer belong to the Wang family." Not long after, his biological parent arrived, plain, sharp-eyed, and carrying the weight of a past he thought he'd escaped. The moment Makoto's biological parents stepped inside, they bent over and over again, plastering on those greasy, servile smiles. But when their eyes landed on him, there wasn't even a flicker of joy, just a cold, calculating look. The kind people give merchandise, not children. In-laws, what trouble our boy must have caused you." Makoto's father rubbed his hands, grinning like he was selling livestock. "The kid's not sensible, must have been a headache." Mom didn't blink. "We are not in-laws," she said, voice like ice. "We called you here to return your child." The couple froze, then instantly swapped fear for flattery. No, you keep him. We country people don't know how to raise kids. We can even sell him to you fully. Any price you want. Bang." Dad slammed his fist on the table, so hard the teacups jumped. "Get out!" He pointed at the door. "Take your son and leave. Now." The couple didn't dare breathe. They grabbed Makoto, who was screaming and fighting like a trapped animal. He clung to the doorframe, nails bending backward. "Dad, Mom, Sis, I was wrong. I don't want to go with them. They're monsters. Their voices carried as they dragged him down the hall. Cruel words, curses, impatience. What are you crying for, you useless brat? If you weren't so worthless, we wouldn't have to come. Hurry up. Your brothers and sisters will starve at home. Their voices faded into nothing. Silence swallowed the living room. Mom broke first, burying her face in her hands as tears slipped through her fingers. Dad sat heavily on the sofa, shoulders sagging, suddenly looking years older. Alicia stood at the window, staring at the empty driveway where Makoto had disappeared. And I sat in the corner, watching it all with an empty heart. No revenge, no pity, nothing. I stood to leave, but Alicia's voice stopped me. George. She walked toward me, eyes swollen, voice raw. He came from that place too, didn't he? I raised a brow. What place? The place you talked about. That dark place. She swallowed. He was one of those children too, wasn't he? A soft laugh escaped me. You're figuring that out now? I tilted my head. Why do you think Mom and Dad adopted him while searching for me? Because he looked like me. Her face drained of color. Alicia was right. Makoto was one of us, one of the stolen children. 1 year older than me. In that nightmare, he was known as 6. Clever. Quick. Always knowing how to survive by reading the room. He lived easier than kids like me, the ones who only knew how to be beaten. When my parents followed the trail to that village years ago, I was already gone. But Makoto was still there, locked in a woodshed, beaten half dead by his own parents. He looked just enough like me that Mom's heart cracked open on the spot. So they paid money, bought him from the parents who gambled away their children, and poured all the love meant for me into this substitute prince, never imagining the boy they rescued would grow fangs. Alicia looked at me with a shattered expression, then fell to her knees with a heavy thud. I stepped back, startled. She bowed, voice trembling. George, I'm sorry. Hit me. Curse me. Whatever helps. I deserve it. I stared at her, almost amused. Sister, you're mistaken. To me, you're no different from Makoto, or anyone else who hurt me. You're all irrelevant. I walked past her, but she grabbed my ankle. George, I know I deserve to die, but we're siblings. Blood is blood. Please, give me another chance. Just one. I looked down at her hands gripping me so desperately. After long silence, I said, Okay. Her head snapped up, hope flickering like a dying flame. I crouched down, gave her a soft, angelic smile. You want to make it up to me? Easy. I pointed at the tall sycamore tree outside. Jump from there. If you survive, I'll forgive you. The hope on her face died instantly. After Makoto was gone, the house felt hollow, too quiet. Mom and Dad tried everything, affection, gifts, kindness, but I remained a distant satellite orbiting a family I no longer belonged to. A psychiatrist diagnosed severe PTSD. They scheduled weekly therapy appointments. Alicia drove me each time. We barely spoke. She the dutiful escort, me the silent passenger. That day, halfway home, a sudden storm slammed the city. The wipers fought against the rain, but everything outside was a blur of gray water. At a red light, I turned my head casually and froze. Makoto, standing in the rain with a broken umbrella, tugging desperately at a man outside a convenience store. The man wore a filthy tank top, a snake tattoo curling down his arm. I knew that tattoo. I knew that man. He was the one who taught us to steal, the one who taught us fear. My blood went cold. Makoto handed him something. The man snatched it, shoved him aside like trash. Makoto fell into a puddle, soaked, sobbing. The man didn't even look back. He walked away without looking back. The light turned green, and Alicia gently pressed the accelerator, the car rolling forward through the rain. Then something inside me snapped. Stop the car. Alicia glanced at me in the rear-view mirror, confused. What did you say? I said stop the car. My voice trembled, sharper than I meant. She didn't argue, just pulled over. I threw the door open and stepped into the storm, running toward the place that man had disappeared. Makoto was still on the ground, staring at me like I was a ghost. He tried to stand, shaking, soaking wet, but I wasn't looking at him, only at the darkness where that man had gone. Why is he here? I'd asked. Makoto could barely speak. His lips were turning purple. I don't know. He told me to steal things. I refused, so he hit me. He took all the money my parents gave me. He broke down, but I felt nothing. Not pity, not anger, just the cold irony of fate. He took everything from me once, and now the world was collecting its debt. Alicia rushed over, umbrella in hand. Her brows knit when she saw Makoto's condition. Get in the car, both of you. She reached for him, but I stopped her. Don't touch him. This was his choice, his path. She froze. And behind me, through the curtain of rain, I felt Makoto's hateful stare, like he wished he could tear the moment apart. I didn't think I'd see that man again, but fate wasn't finished with me. That night, Alicia was at an important banquet. My parents were away on business. I was alone in the house. Sometime past midnight, a soft noise downstairs snapped me awake. I moved silently to the second-floor railing. 3 shadows were moving through the living room, and one of them was the man with the snake tattoo. I didn't shout. I didn't call security. I just turned around, walked back to my room, and dialed a number. Alicia's. She answered after a long ring, music and voices loud behind her. Hello? Sis, there are burglars in the house. I said it like I was commenting on the weather. Alicia's voice dropped instantly. George, listen to me. Call security. Hide somewhere. I'm coming home right now. No. I looked out the window, calm. I just need you to do one thing. What thing? Call the police. Tell them it's a home invasion and that the intruders are armed. I heard her inhale sharply. Armed? George, are you sure? Don't do anything. I hung up. Then I opened my wardrobe and pulled out the heavy toolbox I had hidden there. Inside, my collection of tools. Tools I knew how to use. Downstairs, the intruders had taken everything they could carry and were climbing the stairs. The man with the snake tattoo spotted me at the top. His grin spread slowly, sickeningly. Well, if it isn't 7. The Wang family really took care of you, huh? Look at you now. His lackeys laughed behind him. Boss, a few coins from him could feed us for years. He stepped closer. 7, you made things really hard for me back then. How are you going to make it up to me tonight? I didn't move, didn't blink. When he finally reached out to grab me, I drove the stun gun into his neck. The crackle of electricity filled the house. His body jerked violently before he crumpled to the floor, foam gathering at his mouth. The 2 men behind him froze in horror. I lifted the stun gun, tilted my head with the same harmless smile they remembered from the past. Who's next? When the police and Alicia burst through the door, they stopped dead in their tracks. 3 grown men, tied together like some twisted art piece, dumped in a heap in the center of the living room, bruised, defeated, and me, relaxing on the sofa with a cola, legs crossed, watching TV. I even greeted them. Hello. Every officer stared at me like I was some creature out of legend. Alicia rushed over, frantic, checking me for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? George, talk to me. I shook my head. What could they possibly do to me? They're the ones who had a long night. The leading officer finally gathered himself. Kid, impressive. You took them down alone? I nodded. Alicia frowned. When you called, you said they had a gun. The officer shook his head. We searched everywhere. No weapons found. Alicia turned toward me, confused. I blinked at her, playful. Oh, maybe I was mistaken. It was dark. As the police dragged the intruders out, the snake-tattooed man shot me a look filled with pure hatred. But I wasn't afraid. He wouldn't be getting out again, not with his criminal record. Soon, only Alicia and I were left in the quiet ruin of the living room. She looked from the chaos, to me, to the calm on my face. George, I could tell what you wanted to ask, why I wasn't trembling, why I wasn't shaken at all. I stood up and walked toward her slowly, my step steady. Sis, do you know something? My voice was eerily calm. Living hurts. It always has. There was a time when every single day felt like a battle just to stay alive. A time when I wondered, over and over, how I could finally stop breathing and make the pain disappear. But now, things are different. I lifted my head and looked her straight in the eyes, letting each word fall with a cold clarity. I don't want to die anymore. Because I'd realized something far more fascinating. Watching the people who should have died disappear one by one is much more interesting than dying myself. My voice didn't shake. My expression didn't waver. Makoto, them, anyone who hurt me will pay for it. Alicia stared at the smile curling on my lips, a smile much too dark for some of my age, too controlled, too cold. She took a subtle step back, instinct pulling her away, and in that moment, she finally understood the truth she'd been avoiding. I wasn't healed. I wasn't even close. I was simply continuing my madness, but in a new shape, a quieter shape, a shape that didn't need screaming to be dangerous. Several years passed before the next turning point arrived. One morning, I received an admission letter from a university overseas. A completely new life waiting thousands of miles away. Before I left, Alicia came to the airport to see me off. She held a small box in her hands. "This is from Mom and Dad," she said, passing it to me. "They wanted me to give it to you before you board." Inside was an anonymous black card, no name, no limit, and a pair of keys. "They bought you a house abroad," she said softly, "right next to your campus." I accepted the box, and, for the first time since returning home, I spoke the word honestly, without any bitterness behind it. "Thank you." Alicia blinked, stunned for a moment. Then she smiled, soft, warm, but edged with sadness. "George lived well over there. Forget everything here. Just let it go." I smiled back at her, but it wasn't a smile of letting go. "I can't forget," I told her, "but I can try. I'll try to live like a normal person." When the plane took off and the city shrank beneath the clouds, I watched it without any emotion, without longing or regret, just an unsettling calm. 10 lifetimes. I had reincarnated 10 times, all for the sake of reclaiming the 13 years stolen from me. 13 years buried in suffering, in fear, in blood, in betrayal. And now, finally, those nightmares that once ruled my life, they would never touch me again. The helpless boy named Seven, who cried and begged for mercy in the dark. He no longer existed. I wasn't him anymore. I was George, the George who would crush every demon that dared to crawl out of hell to reach for me, long before they ever got the chance.